is a potentially big week for the Lester Park Golf Course property. At their meeting Wednesday, the Duluth Planning Commission will take up a resolution that would recommend the City Council approve the sale of that land to the Duluth Economic Development Authority. Now, the 230 acres of city-owned land is currently zoned as parks and open space. If the sale is granted, it could be rezoned to a classification that would allow economic development. That would pave the way for a land use study of the property and an amendment to the city's land use plan. Since the course closed years ago, there have been several proposals for how to use that land, including housing and recreation. We plan to cover Wednesday's meeting. The City Council will take up the matter at a future meeting.